Whitfield, and I'm the owner of Acudetox clinics in South Africa. I'm also the owner of Acudetox Academy. I'm the chairman of the National Acupuncture Detoxification Association of South Africa. I was very fortunate to study in the USA at Lincoln Memorial Hospital under the late Dr. Michael Smith, amongst the best doctors and psychiatrists in the world in learning how to treat people for mental and physical illness using acupuncture detoxification. But my life wasn't always like this. I was born in Johannesburg. I grew up on the West Rand, and I led what I thought was a pretty normal life. Both my parents died, however, when I was 16 years old, and that severely traumatized me. I immediately became an alcoholic. I loved getting drunk. I used it as a way of being able to communicate with my peers, and I have hundreds of no memories of incidents where I had drank to complete blackouts, having to learn from my friends how I'd behaved the night or the day before. I've been very fortunate in that I've traveled the world. I've owned many different businesses. All have been successful. However, as soon as I achieved success, it always seemed to slip through my fingers, because what I was looking for was happiness. And I thought happiness came from money. And so I was chasing money for most of my life.
On tonight's episode of Survivors, the tribe has spoken. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is my bamboo staff that a friend gave me. It's awesome. Reminds me of like a shepherd's staff, steering the sheep. Anyway, I found that quite interesting. So here I am today with Warren and a lapel mic. So Warren, what is the whole process right now? What is it exactly that you're going to be doing and looking out for in particular?
I'm going to be doing Acudetox on you. They're not a 5-point protocol in specific. The Not a 5-point protocol was discovered about 40 years ago in New York by Dr. Michael Smith in the midst of a crack and heroin epidemic. They needed a way to treat people in a non-verbal, non-medicated way in order to stabilize them, keep them calm, and help them improve their recovery rates, their retention rates, and recidivism rates.
Recidivism.
Recidivism, yes.
Okay, cool. Keep going.
So the protocol has expanded to more than 40 countries now. NADA, which is the National Acupuncture Detoxification Association, is in more than 40 countries. There's more than 30,000 practitioners worldwide. There has never been a malpractice suit in the last 40 years against any of the practitioners or against NADA, so it's an incredibly safe procedure. Anybody can learn how to do it, and it's incredibly useful for treating addictions, depression, anxiety, stress, ADHD, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, mental stress or mental illness in general, but also illnesses associated with toxicity. Over the past 14 years of me practicing in South Africa, I've had many different diseases that people have walked into my office with. Some,
just put this on you for now. So,
some life-threatening diseases. Some people a few weeks away from dying. Some a few months away from dying, and are alive 7 years later and living a life that's livable and enjoyable.
That must be incredibly fulfilling, actually being able to help people who are destitute. Because I mean, most people wouldn't even believe that you can actually recover from something like that. I mean, most of the time when people are diagnosed or with illnesses or diseases, and they're given, very few options, and a lot of those options just have no guarantees. Now, you know, in your experience and in me getting to know you and what it is I've gotten to know, is that you actually have very high success rates within regards to number one, releasing the toxicity, which is actually required in order for any healing process to begin.
Correct.
And so, on one level, you're using the acupuncture, but on another level, Warren did this on me first time, so I'm actually helping him out right now by making this video because he's a friend of mine, and I also just get free acupuncture in exchange and having helped someone else out. So basically, the first time I did it, I noticed a lot of big emotional healing take place. It was quite interesting, actually. And you said that it opens up your heart. Do you want to speak a bit more about that?
Well, the body and the mind are inseparable. So if your body is unhealthy, your mind is unhealthy. If your mind is unhealthy, you're going to struggle with your emotions. You're going to struggle with being positive. You're going to struggle with having insight, with sustainability, with stamina, with having enough energy. You're not going to be able to sleep properly. There's so many different things that are caused by a body that's not functioning properly. And in the worst case scenario, you'll end up with a mental or a physical illness. Each organ in the body represents a certain emotion. So in actual fact, we don't think with our brains, we don't feel with our brains, we feel with our bodies. The entire body is our machine or our avatar that we use to connect to the physical realm around us. So if you had, if I gave you a fright, it would affect your heart. You could even have a heart attack. If I made you afraid enough, you could pee in your pants, because fear affects the kidneys and the urinary bladder, same as fright affects the heart and the small intestine. Sadness affects the lungs and the large intestine. Worry affects the stomach, which is why we get ulcers, and the spleen as well. The liver and the gallbladder is anger. And what's so interesting is that I find women who've got divorced, especially women, because of the world that we live in with the masculine overpowering the feminine. Women end up going through relationships, ending them, and having to deal with all of this anger and this resentment. And if they don't forgive, it turns into bitterness, and within 6 months of their divorce, they lose their gallbladders. And I've seen this with it. I've seen this time and time and time again. I've even warned friends while they're going through divorces. You need to forgive for your own health, your own mental health, your own physical health, because if you don't, it will manifest as an illness. So the organs cannot hold on to an emotion. They are there as part of the sensory organ of the body, so that we can feel and we can process our organs in the body-mind paradox. But we are supposed to feel them, make a decision, take action, and move on. So emotions are not supposed to linger in the body. Sadness, for instance, if we don't let go of sadness, it will stay in the lungs, and the lungs cannot hold on to sadness, it'll weaken them. And so we'll end up with things like asthma, we'll end up with psoriasis, skin problems, urinary tract infection, kidney, bladder infection, all because the sadness is trying to leave the body and it can't find a way out. It's being blocked every exit it tries to use, because we stop ourselves from crying. We're told that if you cry, you're weak, or cowboys don't cry. But crying is cathartic. It helps us process whatever stress or trauma that we've been through and helps us release it. And if we don't cry and we hold on to it because of these beliefs, then it ends up making us physically ill. So how acupuncture works is, if I stick a needle into a plug point, what would happen? The whole building would react. There would be sparks flying. Same as if I took a piece of metal, a needle, and I stuck it into a plug point, in other words, an acupuncture point or an acupoint, there would be an effect, a reaction or an effect somewhere else in your body. So what we've discovered from Chinese medicine is that the body has meridians, and meridians are invisible energy lines through which qi flows. And qi is energy, and energy is positive and negative electrical charges. So when I stick needles into people, they'll cry for 45 minutes, not because the needles hurt, because they don't hurt. They're so small and they're so thin. But, you know, if they've got sadness that they're holding on to, they'll cry. There won't be a memory attached to it. The emotion will just come out.
And I assume that these meridians are like electrical channels within the body. And certain places within the body allow you to stimulate certain meridians and the flow of conductivity in between them, I'm assuming.
Correct. The ears are a microsystem for the entire body. Same as you can treat the entire body through the hands, through the feet, you can also do it through the ears. You can diagnose through the eyes, through what we know as iridology, which is a very effective diagnostic method. But the body is there's not just one access point to get to anything. There are many access points. This is an incredibly sophisticated, wonderful machine that we inhabit for a certain period of time.
It is a beautiful, wonderful machine, a temple, and it's something that we have to actually really look after. And it's one of the reasons why I've actually really enjoyed getting to know you and your center. So for those of you that are probably wondering, you know, who is Warren? Warren is this wonderful man that I'd met in Belito who has an Acu-Wellness center, who has all different types of, you could say, holistic healing, alternative healing methodologies. I tried some things like ozone, and there are some, you know, even readings and breath work and potentially Tai Chi and who knows what else. But right now, I've had the opportunity to, for the first time, have acupuncture thanks to Warren. And it was a very interesting, healing and revitalizing experience. And now that you're actually explaining that it's allowing this release of emotions, it makes absolute total sense. Because, you know, I had something to do with my lungs and my heart giving me discomfort. And that acupuncture session almost allowed me to release that rage, or, you know, that energy buildup that I was holding on that happened to be causing that. So, you know, and by the way, Warren also has online courses that go for how much originally?
Well, the course originally sells for $500 US dollars.
For $500 US dollars, but through here, for this month, you'll be able to get it for $250. All the proceeds go to Warren. I'm just helping him out, and he's helping me out by giving me treatments in return. So if you would like to support him, please check it out. We're going to explain a bit more about these courses at the end of the video. But for now, let's keep going. So if you do want to find out more about the courses and being able to learn actually how to do what it is you're going to be seeing here today, and becoming a pioneer or a healer in that space potentially, then you are more than welcome to just stick around to the end of the video. But for now, let's get straight into it. Or is there anything else you want to cover before we actually get into it?
If people do the course, it's an internationally recognized profession, which you'll be able to practice in more than 40 countries. As the founder chairperson of NADA in South Africa, I've made sure that The course material is of the highest standard. Normally the course is done in person, but I've created the course material that it can all be done online. So everything is pre-recorded. There are videos, audios, diagrams, manuals, photographs, plus the students have access to me via telephone, email, WhatsApp video call, Skype, Zoom, whatever. I'm here to support my students so that they become successful, so that they help people, and not just for the duration of the course, but after they become practitioners. I'm here to share my knowledge and my experience with them, and I'm here to get them to share their knowledge and experience with each other as well, so that all of us benefit together, and so that all of us grow and all of us become more effective practitioners.
How many practitioners have you trained in this country?
I've trained approximately 300 practitioners, and we've got about 200 that are practicing. We've got 3 practitioners that work at Wellness clinics in Belito, amongst all of the other modalities that we offer.
Okay, cool. So this is really cool. So you got this video course that actually will be able to teach people how to do this, and actually get accreditation as well.
Correct.
Oh wow. Okay, that's awesome. So you have the ability to accredit other people within regards to acupuncture.
Well, yeah, I'm an internationally recognized trainer. I studied in Huntsville, Alabama, and then I went to study in New York under the late Dr. Michael Smith, who discovered this protocol. And I was very fortunate to study under the best doctors and psychiatrists in the world. So as an internationally recognized trainer, anybody that passes the course and registers with NADA will become certified.
Just had to get some pillows, get some back support. My back actually is quite sore, so it'd be interesting to see how this acupuncture plays out. If it actually does anything to my back, potentially. My back's just a bit stiff for some reason today. Anyway, but we got some pillows, if you're wondering where these pillows came from. Just here to help us stay comfortable. So I'm going to hand back over to you, Warren, so that you can take us through what it is you're doing.
Okay, so we always sterilize first to make sure that our hands are clean. We wash our hands first, we sterilize them as well. And then this is one for each ear. Tear it open like that, take out the swab, use one for one ear and one for the other ear. And then when you're finished, use the other one for the other ear.
Okay. Yeah, this is obviously quite important because, you don't want any, you got metals going into your ear. So, okay, I've got this mic and I'm busy trying to open it with this. Let me go over here. I'm just going to put this here for now. So yeah, I actually feel very relaxed. The last time I did this, I was a little, I'm just saying nervous. Yeah, a bit nervous, trying something for the first time. But now it's almost like my body has this response where it's just relaxing more because it knows that it's about to get a lot of ease right now. Okay, here we go.
Could you look that way? All right, the first point is the sympathetic. Could you just move your head? Right. The sympathetic is the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And what this does is it takes the sympathetic nervous system into a parasympathetic response. And the parasympathetic response is the healing response. The sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight nervous system that we use to function on a daily basis. But when it comes to healing and recovery, that happens in a parasympathetic response. The next one is the Shen Men, and the Shen Men is in Chinese, what Shen Men means is spirit gate. And it's got nothing to do with your actual spirit, it's got to do with, in Afrikaans we say the gees, or we'd say that's a spirited child. So it has to do with vitality. On a metaphysical level, it opens the heart, it makes people more open. It also relaxes you, same as the sympathetic does. The next one we do is the kidney point.
Oh, it even feels like kidney points.
And the kidney, as we mentioned earlier, represents fear, and this helps the kidneys to detox. Using all 5 needles, what that does is it activates the continuum of the flow of qi within the body. It's like opening a dam wall and forcing more water down a riverbed in order to flush out all the toxins or debris. And that is the liver, and that's anger. And then the next one is the lungs, and the lung point, this point's also very effective, and this protocol is very effective for treating people with asthma. In fact, we've had people cured of asthma within around 12 treatments. How are you feeling right now?
I feel like a jolt of electricity is just like shooting through my body right now. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Is that pain or energy?
I guess it feels a little weird because it's that energy and you got a needle in your ear. But it's very, you could say, relaxing. It's very, I think you just ease into it and feel it in a bit more. And then it becomes like very relaxing. But, I can see how putting metal in the ear, it's literally feeling like increased energy, if that makes sense.
Reducing conductivity.
Dev, our video camera guy, is saying something. What are you saying?
Said inducing conductivity.
Inducing conductivity, yeah. Because the body is communicating. Our souls and our consciousness is continually communicating to our bodies. So, as well as your DNA, and they're all, and your nervous system and your electrical nervous system, and they're all using tiny electric signals to communicate. So, as soon as your body's conductivity drops below a certain point, then the way in which your body communicates is impaired in the way in which the information that's being communicated, telling the body how to keep itself healthy and what it is it needs to do. So, yeah, I'm just going to comment on that. Let's continue.
Yeah, well, that's 100% correct. And what the first needle does, the sympathetic, also what it does is dilates the blood cells, which increases that conductivity, as you say. Could you move your head this way?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Believe it or not, what I've discovered over the last 14 years, could you look that way, is that these points, if they are complemented with the right other modalities, for instance, homeopathy or reflexology, etc., or massage or counseling, that there hasn't been a mental or physical illness that's walked into my office that I haven't been able to treat. So this modality, just like all the others, is not a standalone therapy. It's not a one-stop shop. Although detoxification, like you said, is the starting point of healing, in order for you to really heal, this starts you on your journey by detoxing you properly, and then complementing it either with a herbal formula or with a trauma counseling. But what it does is it makes you open to whatever treatment it is that you are going to, makes you open to whatever process you're going to be involved with in terms of your healing.
It's helping also flush out toxins, right, through these electrical impulses in these different organs.
Correct.
Because I feel like, it's crazy. I actually feel like now, my back, actually, that's why I mentioned my back earlier. It's completely relaxed. It's almost completely relaxed. and all that tension is just almost like released. Really awesome. Yeah.
In earlier videos that Nada filmed in their clinics in New York, you would have drug addicts saying they feel like they've just been baptized, or they say that it just feels like it drains all the sin out of you. But what it does is it centers you, it quietens your mind, it relaxes you, and the effect after a treatment is some people will be energized and some people will be sedated. And we can never predict what that will be. If you're sedated, it means you need more rest, you need to sleep. If you're energized, it means that you're on the brink of burnout and you need more energy. And so what the needles do is they create balance. So in the beginning, people might be a bit more sedated and they'll feel lethargic after a treatment, and they might want to go home and just have a nap and spend the rest of the day and night sleeping.
I would find that would happen with people that have to deal with more trauma that's getting healed. So their body has to go into like deep processing to actually process that release and everything that's taken place.
Yeah, so you mentioned the toxins. There are two categories of toxins. There are the physical toxins, which are metals, narcotics, pharmaceuticals, cigarettes, alcohol, bacteria, fungus, virus, mold, parasites. And then those are physical things in the body that don't belong there and impair the body's ability to function normally. And then there are the non-physical toxins, which are thoughts, memories, beliefs, traumas, and ultimately paradigms. And the theory is very simple. All disease in the body or mind is caused by the presence of a toxin. So if you're able to detox people properly, you're able to restore mental or physical health.
This is obviously one of the great detoxification methods that are out there. Is there anything else that you can... I mean, obviously, consciously with your mind, you have the ability to detox your own mind by intentionally releasing old limited beliefs and receiving new empowering beliefs, because your consciousness and your energy and your body within these toxins and nutrients and energy flow, either has to throw it away or either has to receive nutrients or throw away waste. And all energy seems to work like that. So on an emotional level, if we become very stagnant, like now I can feel less stagnant. That's how I feel right now. If we can feel less stagnant and allow that energy flow to just take place, we won't be holding on to anything we shouldn't be holding on to, that is causing this tension in our body that's getting in the way of, our overall energy and vitality, as you just said. This other meridian points, what is it called again for vitality?
The Shen Men.
Shen Men, which means, remember it,
yeah.
the spirit, which has to do with the vitality. Yeah. Okay, great. So, Dave, how much time do we have on the camera there, recording time?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay. So we got some time. Guys, I would highly recommend learning acupuncture. I've got 2 busy weeks ahead of me. I have to go to Cape Town, have a lot of meetings with a lot of people, to really pump up common law here in South Africa and build and document that template for everyone else to be able to see and utilize in the world as we actually go ahead and proclaim our freedom alongside actually holding people accountable for war crimes that are currently being committed against us by stepping outside a government jurisdiction within our own jurisdiction and putting all the nuts and bolts required to be put in place in order to have a seamless transition towards unlimited freedom for all. So anyway, I had to just drop that in there. So if you would like to actually learn how to do this and actually even make a profession out of doing this, this is a very serious thing, and Warren had actually discussed to me that the reason he prices it as the way that he does is to basically, it's an ethical concern, because it has to be people who are serious to do this, because at the end of the day, ultimately patients will be in their hands. So if you would like to learn this, there's a awesome video course, and with this link, thanks to me, you're literally going to be receiving a 50% discount, and you'll be getting for $250, and you'd be really helping Warren out right now. And I get free acupuncture. Keep detoxing, keep staying clean, and have a nice clean energy. How I feel right now. But Warren, after that interlude, I actually want to focus a bit more on your story. And how it is you actually got to acupuncture, because Warren has an unbelievable story, and it's a very humbling story just to listen to be actually quite honest with you, and it really makes you think about life in completely new and unbelievable directions. And I think that's part of what you came here to learn, and part of what your purpose here on earth, healing. At the end of the day, Warren's a healer. We're all healers. We're all trying to heal the world, heal ourselves, heal our fellow brothers and sisters. So, it's funny how life leads us into these situations, because Warren has an unbelievable history. And
I ended up as an alcoholic and a drug addict, homeless hobo on the streets of Durban around the Point Road area shortly before my 30th birthday. And luckily I was given an opportunity to recover, which happened shortly after the point of almost committing suicide. I wanted to commit suicide because my life was incredibly painful. I didn't want to die, but I just didn't want to live anymore. I just couldn't live with the pain of my life. I had alienated all my friends. I had alienated everybody that I'd worked with in business over the years, colleagues, and nobody wanted anything to do with me. My uncle left me on the streets of Durban. He told me I was a curse to the family and that I should never contact the family ever again, and that they wanted nothing to do with me. And those words cut like a knife and shattered my heart, because I loved my late uncle very, very much. But he did so because of my behavior. I'd ended up pawning his brand new Jetta for crack cocaine. And luckily he was able to get it back, but that was the final straw for my family cutting ties with me. I planned my suicide. I'd stolen 40,000 Rand from my employer at the time, because I didn't intend to survive the binge that I intended to spend the money on. I planned to take my own life at the end of a 5-day binge. I spent the money on crack cocaine, on prostitutes, on porn, on hotel rooms, and alcohol and other drugs. And then it came to the point where I'd almost run out of money. I hired a room in a horrible place called the Palmerston Hotel, which is just the entrance to hell. It's filled with addicts and prostitutes and drug dealers and criminals. The place smells like urine. I rented a tiny little room with just a single bed, a small little dressing table. The floor was painted red oxblood, stoop paint kind of floor. It smelled like Jay's fluid, and it had a tiny little bathroom, just a shower, toilet, and a basin. And that's where I planned to take my own life. But I needed to go out and buy a bottle of vodka, because my plan was to swallow 20 ecstasy pills with a bottle of vodka, and that's how I intended to end my life after being awake for 5 days on crack. And so I went to an escort agency and I bribed the barman to sell me a bottle of vodka. And I was having my last drink. And I just sat there at the bar, and I decided to pray, and I just prayed. And I just said, God, if you're out there, in half an hour's time, I'm going to leave this planet. either I'm going to meet you or I'm not. Maybe I'm going to meet the devil, maybe not. Maybe it'll just go black and that'll be it. But the point is, in half an hour's time, I'm going to leave this planet. I'm going to take my own life, and I hope you'll intervene. I'm asking you to intervene because I don't know how to stop this process of what I'm involved in right now. And no sooner had I finished this little prayer that a woman walked in off the street, and she was a street prostitute, and she was trying to pick me up, and it was the last thing on my mind. All I could think about was getting back to this horrible place to go and swallow these pills one at a time. And eventually she got up from where she was sitting and she shook my arm to get my attention. And she said to me, you don't have to do what you're going to do. And I had not told her what I was going to do. And I thought I was kind of dreaming. She took out a till slip or something out of her handbag. She wrote her name and her phone number down on a piece of paper. And she said to me, she lived in a 3-bedroom apartment on the beachfront. She lived alone, that she had no one to talk to, and that she was lonely. She said that I could come and stay as long as I liked. She didn't want money from me. She didn't want sex from me. She said 3 times, there's no reason to do what you're going to do. And she said to me, if you'd like to come, give me a call and I'll give you my address. And then she left. And I just kind of sat there wondering what had just happened. And I just said, God, is this your idea of divine intervention? And there was no voice saying, yes, it's me, God, phone the number. There was just the reality, phone the number or don't. And so I decided to phone the number, and I got her address. I had to bribe the bouncer to walk me there because I was too paranoid to walk in the street and alone. And so he walked me to this place where she lived, and she welcomed me in. From the time I arrived, this woman spoke constantly, and what I noticed was that she was telling me her life story, and I felt quite guilty about the fact that I was in her house, because compared to her life, my life was a walk in the park and hers was an absolute nightmare. At the age of 8, she had been raped by her father and her uncle. At the age of 13, she ran away and became a prostitute, sex worker. She'd been raped, she'd been gang raped, she'd had abortions, she'd had children taken away from her. Every relationship she'd been in had been abusive, physically, verbally, emotionally, mentally. And here she was, being so nice to me and inviting a complete stranger into her house. And so I thought maybe she was a little bit crazy. But I wanted her to shut up, but this woman just spoke constantly, and I couldn't tell her to shut up because it was her house. And then she asked me if I wanted to go to church, and I said to her, you must be crazy. I said, no offense, but I'm an alcoholic, drug addict, hobo, and you're a prostitute. Can you imagine the two of us walking into church together? And I said, by the way, I smell like stale urine. I need to have a shower, and I need to go and crash. I haven't slept in 5 days. And she said, well, I'm going, and off she went. Before she left, she said to me, the only reason I go there is because the people are really nice to me. They're the only friends that I have. They treat me with love and respect. And I enjoy the conversations and the tea and coffee and biscuits afterwards. And she said to me, you need friends. And I said, yeah, that may be true, but I don't think now's the right time. Anyway, from the time she left until she came back, which was about 2 hours, there was a little voice in my head saying, tell the truth, Warren, the truth will set you free. It was like a dripping tap on my forehead. It was just constant and persistent. It was irritating. And when she got home, I said to her, I need to tell you how I ended up in your house. And for the first time in my life, I told another human being the exact nature of my wrongs. I told her everything, every lie I'd told, every rand that I'd stolen from whomever, every person whose heart I'd broken. And I spoke for about 3 hours, and towards the end, I noticed a funny look on her face. And for a woman who never stopped speaking, she didn't interrupt me once. And I sort of looked at her face, but the look on her face was complete love and compassion and no judgment whatsoever, which I'd never seen before in another human being's face. And besides my wife's, I don't think another face ever since. And I looked her in the eye and I said to her, "Are you an angel?" Because I felt like suddenly I was in the presence of an angel. And she gave me a funny look and funny little smile, as if to say, "You've caught me." And she didn't acknowledge or deny that she was or wasn't. She just said, "Carry on with your story." And so I did, and when I was finished, she said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel free." It was as if all this weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I could no longer be condemned because I've admitted to everything. It can't be held against me anymore or be used against me because I've just admitted it. And it was like being in court and being charged with a crime, and you just say, "I'm guilty," and you take responsibility. And that now you're at the mercy of the court. The public prosecutor can't accuse you anymore because you've admitted to it. And instead of receiving judgment, I received mercy. I was fortunate to be able to be given an opportunity to recover. I spent 3 weeks in a home for hobos in Lenasia, in the Indian community south of Johannesburg or east of Johannesburg, whatever. And that's where I learned to eat curry 3 meals a day. It was quite interesting. But I was treated with love, compassion, and no condemnation, no judgment. And I was able to start my recovery there. I then went to a place called Hands of Compassion, where I spent 9 months in inpatient treatment, after which I left and began working again. I also live with Asperger's, autism, so I have an obsessive mind. My mind has always found things to become obsessed with, and unfortunately in the past, before I discovered what I'm doing today, I was never really able to control whatever my mind became obsessed with. My mind became obsessed with whatever I found interesting. And I would spend weeks awake learning everything there was to learn about whatever I was obsessed with. And then I would collapse for a few days and sleep. But this is the starting point of my recovery. So I started working, and because of people would say disability, I think I've come to understand that it's a gift. Within a short space of time, I started 2 new businesses for the company that I was working for that are still operating today and operating at a profit. But in my spare time, at nights, I would go and study counseling. Early on in my recovery, I realized that I needed to change my attitude from one of self-entitlement to one of gratitude. I also learned that the grand sum total of all my beliefs and all my opinions was obviously very misguided if I ended up at the point of suicide and in a home for hobos in Indonesia. And that if I wanted my life to change, I needed to shut up and listen for a change. And so I took that into my recovery. And after qualifying as a counselor, I ran a support group for 2 years on Friday nights, because that was a dangerous night for me. That was normally a night of the week that I went out partying. And after 2 years, I was very discouraged because I had 1% success rate with the people that I was trying to help. And the people that I was trying to help were drug addicts, alcoholics, gambling addicts, sex addicts, porn addicts, food addicts. Everything came my way. I went to a friend of mine and I said to him, I'm the world's worst counselor. And I said, I think I need to throw in the towel and just admit that I'm not good at this. Either that, or I should accept that the reality is that 1% of addicts will recover. I think it was a combination of two things. It was a combination of my approach was wrong, and secondly, I had to learn that I can't fix people. People need to fix themselves. But he said to me, Warren, man is a three-part being, spirit, soul, and body. And what you're trying to do, work with the soul, the mind, is you're trying to help people. You're trying to get people to change their minds. And he explained to me that when people's bodies are toxic, their minds don't function, which is why people will go into a rehab, spend 4 weeks there, and walk out the door and fall flat on their face within the first 30 days spectacularly, and be very confused as to how they ended up there. And he explained to me that there was a hospital in New York that had been practicing auricular therapy, which quite honestly I thought was some sort of fancy word for a diet, because back in those days my concept of detoxification was the Kellogg's all-brand 10-day detox program, where a woman eats Kellogg's and then she's floating on a cloud afterwards. And so he said to me they've got the highest success rate in the world, and that caught my attention because they would need hospital records to prove that. And all too often what we find is rehabs claiming success rates which are an absolute thumbsuck, because unless you test people on a daily basis, especially people who are drug addicts, because the nature of addiction is deception and manipulation, you cannot work on people's word. You need evidence. And because this was a hospital, that caught my attention, so I went online and did a bit of research, but I went and looked at the results, not at what the actual treatment was. At the time I was working as a financial advisor in Santon, and I literally quit my job the next day. I walked into my boss's office and I quit, and he said, "Are you crazy? You're one of our best guys here." And I said to him, "Nope, I'm going overseas to America to go and study a diet." And he thought I was insane. All my friends thought I was insane. And 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Huntsville, Alabama, to go and do the course that I teach and am a registered trainer internationally for. And I studied at Dr. Jim Richards' clinic in Huntsville, Alabama, the Impact Clinic of Huntsville, Alabama. And I qualified there as an acupuncture detoxification specialist. And I went to Dr. Richards and I realized that I would be the first person in the country to be offering Acudetox. And I said to him, I would really love to become a trainer so that I can teach other people. I'm about to get there. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Okay. We'll tell the story of when I arrived in Huntsville. Okay. So I arrived in Huntsville, Alabama to go and study under Dr. Jim Richards at the Impact Clinic of Huntsville. And I was picked up at the airport by a very dodgy looking guy who turned out to be one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. A humble man, an honest man, a very sincere man, a very wealthy man. But he looked like something off of a ZZ Top album. He had white hair and a ponytail and a white goatee down to here. He had a beer boop and tattoos and a biker's jacket. And I instantly thought I'd made a mistake. And on the way to the motel, he asked me, "So have you ever had acupuncture before?" And I thought, what a random question to be asking me. And I said to him, "Why would you ask me something like that?" He said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, what's acupuncture got to do with anything?" He said, "This course is acupuncture." I said to him, "I thought it was auricular therapy." And he said, "Hello, auricular therapy is ear acupuncture. This is called the auricle, or the outer ear, and auricular therapy means ear acupuncture." And to be honest, I was horrified, because I had these religious beliefs that I'd picked up somewhere along in my younger days, and I thought it was evil. And he said to me, "Why did you come here?" And I said, "Because I want my clients to be successful. This is what I want to do with my life." And he said, "Well, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to study ear acupuncture, because that's what they do in New York." And so I did the course, and I was blown away from day one. I arrived there with broken heart syndrome. About a month prior to this, my girlfriend had left me. She'd had an affair. Everybody thought that we would get married. Her little daughter, her 5-year-old daughter, was calling me daddy. And I had a broken heart. And I went to the doctor and I said to him, "Look, I can't function. I'm struggling to sleep. I can't eat. I can't think." And he put me on Prozac. He put me on tranquilizers and sleeping pills as well. And so I took a lot of medication with me to America, because I wasn't sure how much it was going to cost there, or how much doctors cost either. We all have heard the rumors of what private healthcare costs over there. And anyway, Mike, the man who picked me up at the airport, put the needles in my ears in the motel room, and it was the most incredible experience of my life. I instantly felt my whole body just release all of the tension and anxiety that was inside of me. My mind became quiet. I saw colors. My vision even improved slightly. And I said to him, "Wow, if this is what this treatment is, I can understand why drug addicts and alcoholics like this, because this is amazing." But the interesting thing was, the following day I woke up and the pain in my chest was gone. And I didn't feel like I needed that medication anymore. And I just threw all of it, thousands of rands worth of medication, into the bin. I just didn't need it anymore. And so I was convinced from day one that this was going to be an amazing experience. I then qualified there as an acupuncture detoxification specialist, or Acudetox specialist. And I went to Dr. Richards afterwards, and I said to him, "You know, I'm going to be the first person in the country that's doing this. How do I become a trainer?" And he said, "If you want to become a trainer, you're going to have to go to New York. Dr. Michael Smith is the only man who decides on who trainers are. And if he says you can become a trainer, then you can become a trainer." So I said to him, "Please phone him and speak to him for me," which he did. And Dr. Smith said to him, "Put him on a plane, send him here." So I arrived in New York, and I went and studied at Lincoln Memorial Hospital in South Bronx, which is a pretty rough area, and there they have 300 outpatients a day coming into the clinic for treatment. And so I clocked up a lot of experience in a very short space of time, and I learned firsthand the power of the treatment from the many different types of people that came into the hospital for help. I then came back to South Africa and I practiced for 6 years, and then submitted all of my cases to Dr. Smith, and he then certified me as a trainer. And for the past 7 years or so, 6 or 7 years, I've been teaching people all over the country, mainly in Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town. But I firmly believe that this protocol and the wisdom and the logic behind this treatment really has the power to help this country and the world, especially with the trauma and the fear that's going on in the world today. The protocol is so effective for dealing with anxiety and stress, and as we know, stress is the number one killer. If we are able to de-stress properly and quickly, we are able to get to a point where we are able to think differently and respond differently, because we're not responding from the fight or flight frequency. We're responding from the healing frequency. And so I hope that you will consider very carefully doing this course. It's a profession. All of the course material that you need, it's a complete course. It has videos, audios, diagrams, photographs, and you also, all of the students have access to me through the practicals, the practical part of the course, even through the exam, and it's after they become practitioners. I also am available to all of my students all the time, free of charge. Not all the time, during office hours, free of charge, to share the knowledge that I've gained over the last 14 years and to guide them and help them so that they can become successful at helping our communities and helping our people in South Africa.
Just had these needles taken out after lying down on the couch and just listening to Warren's story. And I feel it's crazy. It's like a deep nervous system, I don't want to say shock, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's really on such a deep level of your nervous system, you can feel like a major change. And I feel like right now is not a good time to drive or anything to do anything like that. And I feel very like relaxed, as though my body's in like very deep healing right now. So I'm guessing it's going to take a little bit of time, right, for that to settle in.
Well, you're gonna feel like this for the next few days, but what it's done is it's just de-stressed you and calmed your nervous system down and taken you into a detox and a healing response.
Yeah, and I feel it. I feel it. It feels. It's pretty insane, eh? Yeah, it's pretty powerful. And I'm assuming the more you do this, the more you start feeling it. Because the first time I did it, this feels a bit stronger. After the first time.
Well, yeah, some people it takes a while before they have a deep experience. Some people have it immediately. Some people it'll take 2 or 3 treatments before it hits them quite hard, and then you see major change take place in their life after that.
What, in like 2 or 3 sessions?
Yeah.
Okay, well this is my second session, so three's the lucky number, right? So Warren, thanks a lot for actually sharing all that information about yourself as well as educating us about acupuncture. I'm sure we'll have some more chances when I'm not so busy, because I'm going to be quite busy for the next couple of weeks working with Common Law and Earth United. But because you have a wealth of knowledge and experience.